From the massive Mayan temple of Tikal to the forbidden city of China, here are 11 most iconic structures throughout the ages. But first, thanks Alicia for leaving us this comment on our recent conspiracy video. Today we're going to take a deeper look into some of the most well-known structures throughout the ages. If you think we forgot one, leave us a comment in the comment section. Number 11. The Great Pyramid of Giza. The largest and oldest of any pyramid in the world, the Great Pyramid of Giza is the only standing ancient wonder of the world and is still in remarkably good condition. Not only is this the most well-known pyramid in Egypt, but it was also built during the Old Kingdom by Pharaoh Khufu. This pyramid displays nearly perfect symmetry and was constructed around 2560 BC, taking an estimated 20 years to finish. It stands as a symbol to the mysteries of ancient man and remained the tallest building in the world until the Lincoln Cathedral was constructed in 1311. Limestone blocks used to construct this monument can weigh anywhere from 25 to 80 tons each and is made up of 2.3 million blocks. Number 10. The Colossus of Rhodes. Although the Colossus of Rhodes no longer exists, this is one of the most well-known wonders of the ancient world and has inspired modern-day iconic structures, which we'll get to later. A massive structure once stood to the coastal entrance of the Greek island of Rhodes, displaying the local deity of Helios, the god of the sun. In 294 BC, construction of a massive bronze sculpture with a 50-foot marble base began, and the god Helios stood 60 feet tall, holding a torch in one hand and a spear in the other. It was completed 14 years later in 280 AD. It didn't last long, however, and an earthquake caused it to break at the knees. The remains of the statue were sold, and pieces of it could be all over the world by now. Number 9. The Colosseum. Built from simply concrete and sand, the Colosseum takes its name partially from the iconic structure we just mentioned, and it's the largest amphitheater ever built. As the Roman Empire began to prosper, they wanted a way to display their wealth from their massive empire and construct a feat of engineering in the heart of Rome for the citizens to enjoy. Construction began in 72 AD under the rule of Emperor Vespasian, and it was finished 8 years later under the rule of Emperor Titus. Bloodthirsty crowds would gather by the thousands to watch gladiators fight for their lives. Some estimate that it could hold a whopping 50,000 people. Animals from all across the vast empire were imported here, and even reenactments of famous battles would take place. Today, it's the most iconic symbol of Italy and one of the most popular tourist attractions in Rome. Number 8. Temple of Tikal. Meanwhile, in the Americas, the Mayan civilization was thriving with complex cities that would rival with European capitals. Situated in present-day Guatemala, the Tikal archaeological dig site shows that the Mayans had an advanced civilization, and this was estimated to have been built around 732 AD, well before Columbus stepped foot on this continent. Tikal was a large city with roughly 50 to 90,000 people, and it prospered for nearly 1,000 years. The ancient capital city mysteriously was abandoned in the 10th century AD, but the amazing structure still stands strong at 154 feet high, making it taller than Chichen Itza by 56 feet. This photo was taken of a skeleton covered in jade balls, and it was discovered inside the temple, which housed the remains of kings. This iconic structure has been a never-ending source of information for historians. Number 7. Notre-Dame de Paris. The Notre-Dame de Paris is the most well-known cathedral in the world and is a perfect example of French Gothic architecture during the Middle Ages. Situated on the Ile de la Cité area of Paris, this massive cathedral began construction in 1182 AD and took roughly 70 years to finally complete. The famous French author Victor Hugo decided to make this iconic structure the setting for his Hunchback of Notre Dame novel, which we all know became more famous from the Disney movie. Due to its religious imagery in the heart of Paris, it suffered from vandalism by French Protestants, as well as rowdy crowds of the French Revolution. Much work has been done in maintaining this masterpiece from the Middle Ages, and tourists from all around the world are still drawn to it every day. Number 6. Angkor Wat. When you think of iconic buildings in Southeast Asia, probably the only building that comes to mind is the temple complex known as Angkor Wat. Located in northwestern Cambodia, this temple was originally built as a temple to the god Vishnu to the Hindu religion, but as Buddhism began to spread quickly from the south, it gradually transformed into a Buddhist temple. It's regarded still to this day as a very traditional site for followers of both religions, and you might even see some dancers like these girls here. This massive complex takes up 4 square kilometers and used 5 million tons of sandstone. Over 300,000 workers, accompanied by 6,000 elephants, were needed to construct this wonder sometime around the end of the 12th century AD. It was built by King Suryavarman II of the Khmer Empire, and as he passed away, it served as his mausoleum. Number 5. The Forbidden City. Possibly the most iconic palace in all of Asia, the Forbidden City was built from 1406 AD to 1420 AD as the imperial palace of the Ming dynasty all the way until the end of the Qing dynasty in 1912. Located in the capital city of Beijing, it served as the main political center of the Chinese government for more than 500 years. It gets the name Forbidden since no one was allowed to leave or enter without the word of the emperor. The cultural architecture displayed here has made it an extremely important historical site and is now home to a museum which 14 million tourists visit each year. They come here to see the priceless artifacts such as porcelain vases from the Ming dynasty. It's twice the size of the Vatican City and 3 times as large as the Kremlin. It's been the site of famous protests as well, including this man who bravely stood in front of tanks at the Tiananmen Square. Number 4. St. Basil's Cathedral. Located within the Red Square of Moscow, this impressive display of colors and architecture was completed in 1561 by Tsar Ivan the Terrible. Despite it having religious origins, due to its uniqueness, it's basically become the most well-known building in Russia and will more than likely show up on their postcards. It's believed that after the cathedral was constructed, Ivan the Terrible ordered that the architects be blinded so they can never recreate such a masterpiece anywhere else ever again. When communists took control of Russia, they preferred that everyone follow atheism, so they weren't too fond of having a religious structure in the heart of Moscow. They decided eventually not to destroy it, but settled on having one of the original bells be melted down. Number 3. The Red Fort. Construction began on this massive fortified palace in India when the Mughal Empire decided to shift power from the city of Agra to Delhi. The Emperor Shah Jahan constructed this massive complex from 1639 to 1648, and it included various displays of Muslim architecture. The massive walls and towers throughout the palace here helped it earn its nickname of the Red Fort. Although it was originally red and white, these were the emperor's favorite colors. The world's largest diamond was actually used as a part of his throne. The massive amount of wealth behind the palace walls was sought after, and the palace was raided by the Persians in the early 1700s. The palace was again stripped of its valuables by the British in the 1800s once they took control of India. The long history at this place can go on for quite a bit of time, but now it stands as an iconic structure to India's independence, and a nationally broadcasted speech is given here each year by the Indian Prime Minister in front of the Gate Lahore, as we see in this photo. Number 2. Buckingham Palace. It wouldn't be too surprising if some of those relics from the Red Fort ended up here in our next iconic building. Built in 1705, this building serves as a symbol of British royalty, imperialism, and the upper class. It's the current home of the reigning monarchs of the UK and is located in Westminster, London. The palace contains 775 rooms, and 52 of those are for royal guests. There are 188 staff bedrooms here and also 92 offices. However, the largest and one of the more beautiful rooms here would be the Royal Ballroom, which was built in 1856 that we see in this photo, that's preparing for a banquet. And number 1. Statue of Liberty. Finally, as we enter the industrial age with advancing technology, one of our most iconic buildings still has Greek roots. This neoclassical structure in New York City was modeled in a similar fashion to the Colossus of Rhodes. It was built as a gift from France for our 100th birthday, but it wasn't completed until October 1886. This was designed by the same sculptor who came up with another iconic building you might be familiar with called the Eiffel Tower. Gustave Eiffel and Frédéric Auguste Bartholdi collaborated together to create this masterpiece, and a statue of the Greek god of Libertas would be more appropriate than Helios. Worshipped as the god of freedom by slaves of the Roman Empire, Lady Liberty is symbolic in many different ways. The book she clings onto contains the American Independence Day in Roman numerals and has greeted many foreign immigrants arriving on boats for the past century. At 305 feet, she's the second tallest statue in the world, over twice the size of the Christ the Redeemer statue in Brazil.